In this phase, we're going to be working with Construct 2's event system. When the alien goes in front of the castle door, it's going to open and transport it to the top of the castle. Make sure you have your USB flash drive connected and that your step-by-step project guide is open somewhere. We're going to be seeing just how powerful the Construct 2 event system can be in your games. We're going to assign some fade in and fade out behaviors to the alien. We're going to add an instance variable to the castle door to track when it's open and when it's closed. Then we're going to create a castle door event group, and within that group, we're going to add the events that make this all possible. So let's get started. Before we begin this phase, I need to show you what exactly you're doing. So here's the finished product. When the player, represented by our alien, walks in front of the castle door opens, the alien fades out and is transported to the top of the castle. Now it looks really easy, but there's in fact a lot of different events and actions that need to be put into place to make this work. As usual, make sure you have your step-by-step project guide available, and we're working in the phase that's called raising the gate. I already have my project open in Construct 2, so I'm going to start there. You probably noticed in the demo that the alien appears to fade in and fade out during the transport. Those are actually behaviors in Construct 2 that we can add to object types. So go to the alien, the visual representation of our player, and click on behaviors. We're going to be adding two fade behaviors. The first one is going to be called door fade out. This is going to be the fade where the alien appears to fade to invisible in front of the door. And then we're going to add another fade, which is when the alien fades back in at the top of the castle. We're going to call this door fade in. And as we have done many times, we need to set the properties in our properties bar. For door fade out, we don't want this active at start because we want to control it in our code. It's a fade out, so fade in time doesn't apply, that's 0. Wait time, we're going to wait 0.5, half a second. Fade out time is going to be 1 second, and we do not want to destroy the thing that's fading. For door fade in, also, we don't want this active at start. We want to program it. Fade in time, 1.5 seconds. The same wait time, half a second. And since it's a fade in, the fade out doesn't apply. That's 0. And do we want to destroy the alien afterwards? No, we do not. So there are your fade properties for the alien. And we're going to be programming those shortly. We need to add an instance variable to the castle door. To program, we need to make sure that the door can only be in this transition state of opening and transporting the player once at any given time. So either the door is open or it's closed, and we need to track that. Let's go to the castle door. Right click, instance variables. Similar to what we did for tracking the player, we're going to track the castle door, the state of whether it's open or closed. Click the plus. We're going to call this one open because the door is either open or not. The best data type for this on-off, true, false, yes, no state is a Boolean. And by default, the door is not open, it is closed. For description, whether door is open. Keep it simple. So there is our instance variable. Under your layers, I want you to unlock the game layer. If both the game and background layer are unlocked, that's fine. What I want you to do is we are going to find the grass object instance, which is right in front of the castle door. I want you to take a look at its properties. every single instance, every object of an object type has its own unique ID. And you can use this in your programming. So if you look under UID, you will see that the number, the unique identifier of this grass block right here is 96. So I'm going to write that down. If I were to click on the block next to it, it would have a different unique ID, 97. We're going to use this when we create our event. When the player collides with this grass block, we're going to assume that it wants to open the castle door. So make sure that you have clicked on this grass object instance and that you have written down the UID in your game. Now it's time to code this. The castle is something that only exists on level 1, and so the events related to operating the castle door really belong in the level 1 event sheet. The event sheet that's reserved for functionality that is exclusive to level 1. So we're going to go to the level 1 event sheet. We don't have anything right now, but we want to stay organized, so let's create a group. And we're going to call it Castle Door. And for a description, events and triggers that control interactions with the castle door. That's simple. And press OK. The first thing we need to do is create our player on collision event. Remember how I had you write down the unique ID of the grass block in front of the castle door? Well, we're going to use that in our condition. We're going to add an event. We're going to choose our player on collision with another object. The player will be colliding with grass. Done. Let's expand this so it's a little easier to read. We don't want when the player collides with any grass object. We want it when it collides with a particular grass object and we know the ID of that object. So click just on the condition, right click, add another condition. I want you to find grass. Construct 2 has this really powerful functionality where you're able to pick the unique ID that you want to filter by. Mine is 96. So what this event block is saying right now is that whenever the player collides with the grass and that grass has a unique ID of 96, then the condition is met. But we have one more condition we need to add. What if the door is currently open or in the process of being opened? We don't want our event to fire twice. So once again, we're going to add another condition. And we're going to go to the castle door. Under instance variables, we're going to choose is Boolean instance variable set. And we're going to select open. We only want this event to happen if the castle door is closed. In other words, not open. So I want you to right click on this newly created condition and I want you to invert it. So let's read this. When the player collides with the grass object type and that grass has a unique ID of 96 and the castle door is closed, in other words, not open, then perform certain actions. What actions do I want to perform? Well, there's a lot of them. The first thing I want to do is I want to set the castle door to open. Add action. Castle door. Set Boolean. Open, true. So what I'm saying here is that if the player collides with the grass and its unique ID is 96 and the door is currently closed, perform these actions. As part of opening the door, the first thing I want everyone to know is that, hey, door's open now. It may not be completely open, but it certainly isn't closed. So we're going to set it to open equals true. This will prevent this event from firing more than once. The next thing we want to do is we want to deactivate the player, because while the door is opening up, I don't want the user of the game to be able to move the player. I want the player locked in place. Add action. Player. Set Boolean. Active, false. So when this event happens, we mark the door as open. We mark the player as inactive. We are also going to disable some of the behaviors that are currently associated with the player. We want to make sure that all functionality comes to a complete standstill so that the player freezes. Under player, we are going to go to scroll to, and we're going to disable it, just like you see there. We're also going to disable the player's platform behavior. This way, there's no way the player can move. When you collide with the grass block and are in front of the door, I want you to be perfectly centered in front of the door. And I'm going to do that by positioning the player using a little bit of math to make sure that it's frozen perfectly in front of the door, centered. Add action. Player. You can position players using the set position action. This one's a little complicated. We are going to find out what is the X position of the castle door. Its leftmost edge. And then we're going to add half the width of the door. The way we add half width of the door, we take the width of the door divided by 2. This is determining the X coordinate that is exactly halfway across the door. And we want to position the player at the very bottom of the door. So all we need to do is find the Y coordinate of the door itself. This kind of stuff is necessary because someone could jump or do other things like that, and we want to anchor the player right in front of the door, centered. Press done. The alien animation that's playing when the collision occurs could be anything, but I want the alien, the visual representation of the player, to be the boring old front-facing animation. So add action, alien, and we need to set the animation to the boring default. This is needed because we don't know what animation is playing when it collides with the grass block. Now we are going to start our castle door animation. We want to start the open animation. Let's take our event block and let's drag it into the castle door event group. I want to run the game with debug so I can see the behind the scenes instance variables and so forth. So click on the debug. I'm going to select the player, and let me find the instance variable. In debug mode, you can track the instance variables to see whether your code is behaving the way it should. So right now, the player is active. If I look at the castle door, I'll see that open is 0, which is another way of saying false. So the castle door is not open, it is closed. Go back, select the player. Let's see what I have so far. If I collide with the grass block in front of the door, I'm perfectly centered. If I try to use my keys, I cannot move the player. The castle door open animation definitely played. And under player, the active instance variable is 0. Which means it's inactive. So that worked. Let me take a look at the castle door. Is it open? Yes. 1 indicates true. if I look at the alien, what animation is currently playing? Current animation, default. So far everything's going well. Once the castle door open animation is finished, it's time to fade out the alien, the visual representation of our player. So let's add an event. The condition is when the castle doors animation on finished open. So when the open animation has finished, that means the door is up, then I want certain actions to occur. I want the alien to fade out. So we're going to choose restart fade under the door fade out behavior. And we'll drag that into the event group. And let's play the game. There we go. Looking good. We want to create an event that fires when the alien is finished fading out. So it's going to be similar to this castle door trigger you see here. Add event, alien, and when the fade out that we initiated earlier is finished, we want certain things to occur. I'm going to take the player and I'm going to position it at the top of the game, the top of the screen. The way I do that is I accept the current X, the left, right, east, west coordinate, and then I set Y, the north, south coordinate, to 0. 0 is at the very top of the screen. So by setting this position, I'm taking the player and dragging them all the way to the top of the screen. Press done. But just moving the player isn't enough. I need to fade them back in. Remember, the alien is the visual depiction of the player. So we're going to go to door fade in, restart fade. Let's drag this in, and then I want to see what I have so far. Let's play the game. I'm going to collide with the grass block. Open animation plays. I fade out. I fade in, and I've been positioned at the top of the castle. So obviously there's a couple more actions that we need to add. Let's go back. We need to re-enable some of the player's behaviors. Under player, I want you to go to scroll to and enable it. We're also going to give the player back its platform behavior. Enable that. We're going to make the player active again by setting its instance variable. And we're going to start closing the door. Castle door, set animation to close. Now let's play it. As you can see, the player, now that we've activated it and given it back all of its power, can walk on top of the castle and do all kinds of great things. You also notice that the close animation played. But here's the problem. I can't open the door again. That's because I'm missing something else. When the castle door closes, we need to set its open instance variable to false so that our event system knows that the castle door is now closed and therefore can be opened again. So we're going to add an event. Go to castle door. When the close animation is finished, we are going to set the castle doors instance variable open to false because now it is closed. Drag that into the event group. What this allows is for this condition right here to be satisfied so that this trigger with all of these various conditions can be satisfied and everything can go forward as before. Let's play again. Now, we're colliding with our grass block. Player fades out, goes to the top, and because we have marked the door closed, I should be able to use it again. I can go back to my level 1, and with the right layers selected, I should be able to duplicate coins. Maybe I can even duplicate enemies to be close to the castle top. Last thing we need to do is save our game. Control S, or you can do File Save.